Hello, everybody. It's Joaquin Gutierrez here again for our weekly class. Today, I've invited, and I was very blessed to have my invitation accepted by George Levy from Blockchain Institute of Technology. This is going to be one of the most interesting interviews that you're going to see this year, at least, even though we're coming down to the end of the year. Thank God. George Levy has been a friend of mine for a while. I had the opportunity to see his classes for Bitcoin, and without that, I wouldn't have the understanding that I have now, and I'm hoping that some of you will take advantage of that. Let me go ahead and introduce George, who's ready to roll, so that he can tell you what we're going to cover today is why are people using Bitcoin for real estate purchases, the pros of it, because as far as I've spoken to George, there are no cons. And I want you to understand the things that you need to understand to be able to provide somebody the access to go ahead and move that. A lot of people keep talking about, Bitcoin being a fad and so on. It is not. And here's George Levy to explain more about that.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Joaquin. Very excited to be able to share this information with the audience. I wanted to clarify, I am a co-founder. I'm actually one of the instructors as well at the Blockchain Institute of Technology. And as we will be talking about, I will be talking about not just about Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about blockchain, because blockchain is one of the technologies that's used in Bitcoin, but blockchain is used in many other areas. So as I speak, I'm going to talk about Bitcoin specifically, because Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency, people are looking at it as an investment to be able to, the price right now in Bitcoin is over $17,000. And I'm going to be going into all those things. But I'm going to talk about specifically why are some of the benefits of actually being able to accept payments in Bitcoin if you're actually in the real estate space. So just to put things in context, when I talk about the fact that I'm with the Blockchain Institute of Technology, I'm going to start sharing my screen. I'm going to start sharing some information with the audience just to put things in context. Okay. So right now, I will now be sharing my screen. And if you're interested in learning more about what I do, the Blockchain Institute of Technology, you can find it at blockchaininstitute.com or blockchaininstituteoftechnology.com. We're a full certification firm. We've trained Fannie Mae, we've trained Ernst & Young, we've trained the Ministry of Economy in Mexico. We have over 70,000 students globally. But I don't want to do this as a pitch. I just want to tell you why you should pay attention to what I'm saying, because Fannie Mae is looking at blockchain technology and how blockchain technology can be used into the whole mortgage space. So blockchain is used in Bitcoin, but it's also used in many other areas. But let's drill down for the purposes of this audience to talk about Bitcoin per se. So just to put things in context, as of the precise moment that we're looking at right now, the price of Bitcoin is $17,856. This is an average across multiple crypto exchanges worldwide. So the way that you use Bitcoin is, let's say you have some Bitcoins and you need to pay for your rent. Well, you would exchange that Bitcoin to dollars, or if you live in Europe, you would change it into euros, or if you actually live in Japan, you change it into yens. So you have Bitcoins and you can sell your Bitcoins and turn them into fiat. That is US dollars or euros or whichever other currency you have. I have global students worldwide. So many times when I do transactions with clients around the world, I prefer to get paid in Bitcoin because a Bitcoin transaction, instead of me having to wait 48 hours for a money transfer and then have to wait until the transfer clears, when someone sends me Bitcoin, it's just a matter of minutes for me to get confirmation and I have the Bitcoins, right? And once I have that, there's no chargebacks, there's no takesies back. So nobody can cancel a payment once they send it to you. That's one of the main reasons why I'm talking to you about Bitcoin, because when you make a transaction in Bitcoin, you can't simply just stop a check, cancel or reverse a payment. A Bitcoin transaction is a final transaction that's done. So that's why many times when people accept Bitcoin, it's a good thing because you avoid having somebody cancel the check. You avoid also simply just having a check without funds, right? How horrible that you actually receive a check for payment and then you find out there was no payment, there was no funds to the check, and then you get hit with the insufficient funds, right? So these are things that cryptocurrency lets you do. So the reason why it's important to talk about Bitcoin in the space of real estate is that what Bitcoin enables you to do is Bitcoin is an investment. So just to put things in context, let's assume that you've been sitting on some Bitcoin, and just as early October, your Bitcoins were worth $10,500 for every Bitcoin you have. Now, all of a sudden, every one of those Bitcoins you have is worth $17,800. It's almost like you got a massive return on your investment. So times when peaks for the price of Bitcoin go up are times when people who are sitting on Bitcoin tend to spend their Bitcoin. So if I've been sitting on Bitcoin and I look at the price of Bitcoin right now at $17,800, this might be a good time for me to buy that property that I've been wanting to do, because whereas I only had $10,500 per Bitcoin back in early October, now all of a sudden I'm sitting on $17,800 worth of Bitcoin. Now, key things that I want to point out to you is that this is actually more common than most people realize. What most people don't realize is that there are a lot of people out there that do have cryptocurrency, and they're sitting on these cryptocurrencies, and there have been plenty of sales already. So let me just give you one example. In Miami, mansion was sold for 455 Bitcoins. So this is just one example of it. When you look globally, you start looking. Now, I'm just bringing Miami because we're in Miami right now. I could keep going example after example after example. In Dubai, for instance, real estate payments using Bitcoin are on the rise. So what I'm trying to say is, like, it's not buying in dollars, you're buying in Bitcoins. So when Bitcoin rises, real estate sales happen all around the world. Why? Because everybody sitting on Bitcoins all of a sudden is flush with money that they can turn into their local currency and buy real estate or et cetera. So the reason why I'm telling you all of this is that it's not just in real estate. This happens across the board in big ticket items. So I could give you more examples of people buying Ferraris or Lamborghinis. Lamborghinis are hot. So when Bitcoin was at around the $20,000 price point last year, when we hit the bubble, the sales of Lambos went through the roof. And it was a big joke that everybody with Bitcoin all of a sudden was buying Lamborghinis. So when people buy properties and people are buying real estate, they typically do it around these spikes. Now, the key question that I always find from many people is, well, if I get into Bitcoin, just like Bitcoin prices go up through the roof, they also tank. And if you're in the real estate space, you run into the fact, okay, so you sold the property right now for 455 Bitcoins, right? And you can do the calculations as of the time that we did this. But the point is, let's assume that then the price of Bitcoin tanks. You're stuck with Bitcoins and you don't have the money. That's not how it really works. What people don't realize is that, for example, when people pay me in Bitcoin around the world, I don't specifically take the Bitcoins. I mean, I could, but many times what I do is I send an invoice, and that invoice gets paid in Bitcoins, and it automatically gets converted into US dollars. And within 24 hours, it gets deposited into my bank account. Same thing happens with these real estate transactions. What you do is you can secure the price of Bitcoin as of this time, 17,856, for instance, or whatever the cryptocurrency exchange is at the time of the transaction. And it will immediately process a transaction, and you will get the deposit in dollars within 24 hours in your bank account. And it's as simple as that. So to explain to you how this works, the easiest one, just to give you, I'm going to give you a teaser right now, just so you understand, because there's a lot more that you could learn if you were interested in doing it, is there's actually really simple providers that do things like, for example, BitPay, which right now I'm sharing with you. They have a full division completely dedicated to real estate sales and blockchain payments. And this is as simple as you do a transaction. You can actually get a specific invoice generated for you for the full amount. The person pays in Bitcoins. BitPay processes a transaction into US dollars and deposits into your checking account. Voila, it's done. The beauty of getting a payment in BitPay, BitPay actually processes well over $1 billion a year in transactions, by the way. Every transaction that gets done on BitPay is non-reversible, just like a Bitcoin transaction. If I send you Bitcoins and all of a sudden I change my mind, there's nothing I can do about it. I already sent you that Bitcoin. So this is one of the key things why people sometimes love to take payments in Bitcoin. Add to the fact that there's a lot of people that have Bitcoins. And then all of a sudden they're sitting on Bitcoins. Bitcoins are sitting at $17,800. And then they're saying, okay, well, I want to make a transaction to buy something. So the key thing why sometimes people ask, they say, well, why don't they just change their Bitcoins into dollars and then make the payment in dollars? Well, the key point is this. If you make a transaction into dollars, you're going to actually have to exchange at the rate of the dollar transaction. So you're doing a cryptocurrency exchange for 17,800. You have to take the percentage that the cryptocurrency exchange will give you. You're going to have to pay taxes on the asset affiliation, the value add that goes up for that transaction. You have to pay taxes on that. And then you're going to have to go with that money that you already paid taxes on. Then you're going to have to actually make the payment into the house. Whereas if you actually make your investment and you pay in Bitcoins, yes, you have to figure out what your taxation levels will be. But the key point is you're not going through two separate layers. You're making it one simple step for people to be able to pay you in Bitcoin, and then you can actually get the transfer done immediately. So that's why doing transfers in BitPay is such a practical, easy way to do that. To put things in context right now, if you actually wanted to buy courses from the Blockchain Institute of Technology and you go to the academy, you could actually pay using cryptocurrency. So you could pay, if you wanted to pay in courses, you actually pay for dollars, so you can pay in dollars. I can take credit cards, I can do PayPal, do all that. But the point is, I actually also take payments in cryptocurrency, because if I am talking to you about cryptocurrency, well, I want to get paid in cryptocurrency too. The beauty of it is, because I offer the alternative to people to pay in cryptocurrency, there's a wide range of new customers that I never would have been able to sell to, because many people simply don't want to pay in cash. They'd rather pay in cryptocurrency. So those are the key points. Yep.
So there's two things. One, you must take some of these courses, or all of them, because there's a lot of information here that you're not going to be able to touch on, because this is the tip of the iceberg and you're pretty much addressing real estate. That's one thing I want to say. But the other thing is, just like I get paid in dollars and keep my dollars, are there people that just are living in the Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency where they're not coming out and cashing out? That's just the way
all the time. It happens all the time. You'd be surprised how many people. In fact, let me give you one perfect example. One of my very good friends, his name is John Southers. He lives in Tokyo. And in Tokyo, Bitcoin is a legal form of payment. And in fact, they take it in many, many places. It's a lot more advanced than here in the US. But he basically gets paid constantly in cryptocurrency. And he doesn't just take Bitcoin. He gets paid in Bitcoin Cash. He gets paid in Bitcoin SV. He gets paid in Ether sometimes. And he sits on his crypto and he only converts into fiat, that is, in his case, yen, when he needs to make a payment for someone that doesn't take crypto. Otherwise, he sits on his crypto all the time. The key thing you have to understand is, if you were sitting, and I'm just going to give you one example for this. So I'm going to take you to one of the sites that we would talk about if you actually took some courses. CoinMarketCap.com tracks the entire cryptocurrency market. Key things you need to understand. Bitcoin is only one cryptocurrency. Right now, CoinMarketCap tracks over 7,711 cryptos. So think about how many different cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin's just one. Other things you need to understand. The market cap for the entire cryptocurrency market is over $499 billion. In the last 24 hours, there's been over $172 billion worth of cryptocurrency exchanging hands. That's the type of volume we're talking about.
That's amazing.
When people don't realize is the massive, massive size that cryptocurrencies have, because most people are not exposed to it. Another thing I was going to say, a good friend of mine is based also in South Florida. His name's Bob Dennison. He runs a group called Dennison Yachts. Dennison Yachting sells multi-million-dollar yachts. They do charters and yachts and stuff. He sells in Bitcoin all the time. That's one of the big definings that he has. And many times people go to him. Why? Because he's the guy that can sell you a multi-million-dollar yacht using Bitcoin. And because of that, people who are willing to buy multi-million-dollar yachts, they go to him because he's the crypto guy, right? So that's the kind of thing that when you are able to offer these types of services, and you don't have to exclude other people. That's what people need to understand. For example, I sell courses, I sell services, and I take US dollars. I could get paid in Argentinian pesos, but then I have to wait 48 hours for the check to come to me. And then I have to wait for my bank to do the exchange, and 48 hours for the transfer to go through. And I have to pay on the exchange rate and on the money. And I'm like, no, just pay me in Bitcoin. And if you're in Argentina, you pay me in Bitcoin. If you're in Japan, you pay me in Bitcoin. If you're in, I deal a lot with the United Arab Emirates. They pay me in Bitcoins. Imagine having to take payments in dirhams and then have to convert it to dollar. No, I just think about Bitcoins. A lot easier life.
First of all, we'd have to know what a dirham is. So you've learned all the monetary systems across all the fiats. But that's why I asked you that question, because I want people to understand that this is very, very much used globally.
So key things that I was going to say, if anybody wanted to learn more about the whole concept of blockchains, there's a series of courses. There's a sequence of courses that you can actually get a certificate. You can become a certified blockchain professional. And we have certified blockchain professionals in many leading firms around the world. Fujitsu, for example. We have people in Fannie Mae. We have people in Jet Token, which is a startup that right now is raised over $7 million. They're a cryptocurrency blockchain firm. So there's a whole new world of opportunities with this technology called blockchain. And there's a lot of money being made in cryptocurrencies. So what I would encourage people, if they want to understand more about the space, I invite you, if you want, check out some of the courses available at Blockchain Institute. There's even a free webinar that you can participate in. You can sign up and you can take the webinar on your schedule on demand and find out more about the types of offerings that the Blockchain Institute has for you. If there's anything else that I could add, Joaquin, any topics I may not have covered for the audience?
The only question that I think might still be outstanding, and I appreciate it because, and I told you before we started, all I have to do is let you loose because you pretty much covered everything. Besides the ease of using the blockchain and the cryptocurrency to pay, are there any other benefits that somebody would want to do that? And I know that there's some kind of privacy to the purchase.
Sure.
Is that something that you think you should dwell on?
Well, I'll tell you some of the key things about what changes things. Okay. So just to put things in context so you understand. So here's my mobile device. Yes. I won't say regularly because since the coronavirus pandemic, I haven't been traveling as much, but I spend a lot of time with crypto millionaires around the world. And it's not rare for me to be walking around with somebody with their mobile device and they're walking around with like $35 million. Literally. $35 million. They have instant access to $50 million right on their mobile device, and they can make a payment on the spot. They take a picture of your QR code. Boom. I bought it cash. I didn't buy it cash. I bought it Bitcoin. That's the type of it puts a different perspective of how money is used when you go to the crypto space. So I have done transactions. Actually, I have been involved in participating in a transaction of over $95 million between Japan and New York. And it was done as simply as somebody basically taking a picture of a QR code, and the people in New York received, I think it was $150 million, the transaction in a matter of minutes, completely final, done, no reversals, didn't have to fill out any paperwork, didn't have to do anything because it's a crypto transaction. Now, mind you, that does not mean that you have to, if you make money in Bitcoin, if you want to keep the IRS happy, you have to let them know about the raises that you do and pay your taxes. But what I do have to say is there's a lot of convenience and you can move massive amounts of money very, very easily. Another key thing that's important is, for example, I sometimes go to restaurants. I go to restaurants all the time. There's a great restaurant I'd like to recommend called Latin Grill. Latin Grill, the chef is called Chef M. I love this cat. Great food, Mexican restaurant. They take Bitcoin payments. I go there all the time. Why? Because I feel very, very uncomfortable using my credit card in restaurants because I've had my credit card stolen, my credit card number stolen. When I pay in Bitcoin, I don't have to give any of my information. I just take a picture of a QR code and it's that. They don't even need to know who I am. I just make a payment. So it's a very secure way of doing that without having to give all your information for you to be able to process a Bitcoin transaction. So those are also ways in which some people, like my friend in Japan loves to pay using Bitcoin because he doesn't like to give out his credit card information to anybody.
Thank you. That I think that covers everything we need to know as far as real estate goes.
Yeah.
I know that I caught you in the middle of a couple of classes, so I appreciate the time that you came out to do this. But I think we could sign off now. I would really want you to put out the information again, because even that free seminar is going to help people start learning more about this.
So what I would encourage is, if you want, I think a very valuable, no money, no obligation, nothing, just go to blockchaininstituteoftechnology.com. You can sign up to the Adapt to Change Using Blockchain to Transform Your Career and Help the World. Now, it's meant specifically for you to understand what are the offerings, but in the process, you learn a lot of many people that are using blockchain for many different aspects, different startups. It's a very valuable free webinar that you could take. And if you want to find out more about me, I can also be found at georgelevy.com. So I really appreciate the opportunity. I hope this has been this has been valuable. And I'm also
this
on
has been very valuable. Thank you.
Yeah, Twitter.com/George Levy. And I hope to see, I wish you the very best, Joaquin, and the very best to your audience as well. Much success.
Thank you. And just so that everybody knows, the links that you just mentioned are already in this conversation below.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joaquin. Have an excellent day, everybody.
Thank you. Cuídate.